All right, I'm live. So I was working on my projects for learning, and another thing came up regarding our social understanding of learning that bugs me. But this one is deeper than just our understanding of learning. This is our understanding of reality. That's why I said it. That's why it's titled "Exceptions in the Truth," because the truth is something that applies to everything, including learning. So to get right into it, I'm going to obviously I'm going to metaphor out to a car throughout this entire discussion, because I've realized across time that using the car as a metaphor has just helped me, and therefore I'm helping everyone else understand where I'm going, my train of thought, and in other words, the reality, where I'm going, my train of thought, and how we all can work together to achieve this goal. So I don't know if I did this in the first video, so I'll do it now. My goal is simple. I want to understand what learning is. So that's just, I'm trying to use as simple language as possible. My goal is to understand what learning is. Okay. So to go to the car. In the same way, I want to understand what learning is in the same way that we understand what a car is. Okay. There's no question as to what a car is. Okay, its existence is defined by our understanding of it, and there is something unalienable. What's the word? There is a understanding of what a car is that cannot be changed. Else, if it to the most minute degree, else it would cease being a car and would be something else. So, just to put it simply, a car is a machine. We could say a man-made machine. You can use that adjective. Not, I don't know how important it is we use that adjective, but it's a machine that transports humans or materials, I guess you could say, transports things of value to humans. So that could be either other humans or humans themselves or material from point A to point B. So this obviously includes all forms of transportation. So so that's what a car is, right? So the key elements here are transportation, point A to point B. That's the key element. You could change machine, you could, right? But if you take that core element, which is transportation from point A to point B, you no longer have a car, you have something else. Okay? So that is the truth, right? And it's singular in that there is no question, there is no exception, there is nothing you can change about it. Else you change the thing itself. Okay. So it's the key thing is we are restricted to see it from that and then build upon that. There's no freedom on that level. Okay. The reason why I'm stressing these words, there's no freedom, it's singular, we're restricted, because we need to have an understanding of learning on that level. And we don't have that right now. We're still in this state where it's like hippie-like state where it's just like however you see it, that's the way it is. Like in the same way that some people view God. God, it's everywhere. It's anything you want him to be type of thing. My learning is different from your learning. We still have this very hippie-like understanding of learning. And so just try to imagine if we had a hippie-like understanding of cars. They would cease to function. They would cease to serve their purpose. We would cease to be able to use them because everyone would think it should be something everyone would think that it should be something different. Because we're all different, so then there would be the purpose of it would cease to exist. I mean, it's hard for me to even describe what a car would be like from the perspective that we view learning, and that's how important it is that we come to a concrete, I'm using a bunch of words I don't know, unalienable, a concrete, unaltering, static understanding of learning. Okay, so why? So here's a piece of logic that I want to propose. So I'm going back to the car. Okay, so car is unquestionably something that transports stuff, including humans, from point A to point B. Okay. That's the core element, right? We get that. Okay. Based on that reality, based on that truth, humans have started to play with cars and expanded their potentials in many different directions. So due to our restriction in understanding the core, unalterable, unchangeable reality of a car, we have then been given the freedom to play with it. And so now we have all sorts of cars that all do the same thing, okay, but possibly in different ways. So planes, semis, boats, and then amongst those different things, they vary and say some cars are more luxurious than others. Some have softer seats. Some have really nice sound systems. Some have air conditioning. Some can carry a lot of things. Some can run with very little energy, etc. But they all share the same common thing, meaning they're all the same thing, right? So the process looks something like understand the truth of something first, and then you can play with it and make it your own type of thing. You can't make something your own if you don't first understand the truth. And the characteristic of the truth is we all agree that this is what it is. There's a massive, unquestionable agreement that that's what a car is. Okay. And then based upon that massive, unquestionable agreement, societal agreement, we then start playing with it. So freedom comes from first restricting ourselves to understand the truth of something, which is singular. Okay, it comes from first that. That's the step to freedom. Okay, there is no shortcut to freedom, right? And so it's the same thing with learning, right? And so now we have like cars that also function as houses, cars that function as beds, right? They aren't houses, they aren't beds, but they function as those because we are able to play with them and turn them into that while retaining their truth. Okay. So how do we get there? Okay, how do we get there? Well, obviously, it's a complicated process of getting there, and I can't describe how to get there, but the purpose of this video is to help us understand how to deal with the phenomenon of exceptions, okay? Because I believe that to be one of the things that we aren't using the phenomenon of exceptions properly. And so our use of exceptions is flip side, is causing us to not be able to understand the truth or the reality of learning. So to put it out simply, the way we are supposed to use exceptions is exceptions allow us to understand what something is not. The way we currently use exceptions is we use exceptions to understand what something is. And that is wrong. That's flipped. We are supposed to use exceptions to understand what something is not. So, for example, to go back to the car, there's cars that are called motorhomes, and they have a home on top of wheels, and you can move around and you can live in them. This is an exception to the car. How is that? A car is not a home. Okay? It can function as a home, but it is not a home in that the truth of a car, what makes a car, is not that it is a location where people live. We have something for that. It's called a home, a house, right? So that's not what a car is. But there's exceptions. So there are exceptions. For example, a motorhome. But if you were to work backwards, look at a motorhome and say, oh my God, this is a home that can move around, and then say, okay, well then cars are homes. You'll never really understand what a car is. Just try to imagine, you're trying to work backwards. Just try to imagine that we don't know what a car is. We don't know that a car is something that transports us. I know it's hard to imagine because it's just like so obvious, but just try to imagine. We're an alien species coming in and trying to understand what a car is. So we look at a motorhome, we're like, well, clearly they're living in it. So it's probably a home. So cars are places where you live. And then we all believe that. And we start teaching our children that. And their children's that. We develop entire technologies around that. Think about it. That's ridiculous, right? You would never come to understanding what cars are. Well, that's what we're doing with learning. Okay? That is seriously what we're doing with learning. That is our approach to understanding learning. We are looking at the exceptions and then defining learning as that. Here's an exception. Intelligent people, people that are smart, people that are learning are people that are able to process a lot of different pieces of information. Yeah. And how do we come to that conclusion? Because there are people who are exceptionally good at processing a lot of different pieces of information. And so then we then say, okay, so that is what learning is. Learning is something that helps us process lots of pieces of information. So we develop technologies and habits and traditions that promote that. Reading lots of books, going to classes and spending huge hours of consuming lots of pieces of information. All based on this assumption, that is driven from exceptions. When the reality is, people are exceptionally good at processing information, which means that is not what learning is. That's how we should look at it. It's like a coin. There's the truth and the not truth, sides of the same coin. To understand the truth, sometimes you have to recognize what is not true and then flip it to see the truth. Two different worlds, same coin type of thing. I feel like that just makes a lot of sense. And so that's how we should look at exceptions as evidence of what something is not. So people that are exceptionally good at processing a lot of information, what the reality is they are exceptionally good at one of the things learning is. Just one of the things, not the whole thing, just one of the things, which would make sense if you think of exceptions in the entire scale of what they are. An exception is a very, 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 very small percentage of the entire population equation reality, a small percentage. Okay. If you're familiar with bell curves, exceptions are in the 5% and lower spectrum of the bell curve, meaning 95% of reality of everyone is not the thing that is being measured by this thing we call, is not the thing that's being measured. But then we are believing we are believing. You see, it just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense if you take everything into consideration. So the only way to make sense of it is to use a logic, which is exceptions don't represent reality. Exceptions are representation of what reality is not. It's the only way to look at it, to make sense of the world. Therefore, processing high amounts of data is not reality. Okay? It is only a part of it. Okay? And it's not even the most important part. Therefore, it's just it's a part of it. So then the question is, how do you use exceptions from this perspective of Acceptance or representation of what something is not. How do you go from there to understanding what something is? To be honest, I don't know the answer to that. I just know that by using exceptions as the entirety of what something is, you get nowhere. You go somewhere, but it's not where you want to go, which is understanding what something is. That much I know. And I don't have to provide scientific evidence for this. You either get it or you're too lost to get it. And you will eventually get it when enough people around you get it. This is kind of how it falls. This kind of happens. I say what I believe to be the truth. Some people get it. It's going to be a small minority. I focus on those people, right? They then have these people that get what I'm saying are better at saying it than me to people that don't get it when they hear it me. So then they say it to those people, and then those people get it, and then it's just this spread. So if you don't get it right now, that's fine, because eventually you will be told by someone who can tell you in a way that you get it. Yeah. Which will most likely be like a scientist or something. And that's cool. But I know this is true. Because it makes so much sense. Especially when you metaphor it out to the car. There are exceptional cars. And how are they exceptional? They're super fast. They're super comfortable. They're super quiet. But that doesn't mean a car is fast. Okay. A car is quiet. A car is comfortable. That doesn't mean that's what a car is. Okay. A car is something. Transports, a machine that transports stuff from point A to point B. That's it. And stuff could be humans, could be objects. That's it. We need that understanding of learning. This is the thing that I wanted to tie in. We need that. Thank you. I kind of went on this little thing for like a couple of minutes. I thought I was done, but no, I'm not done, because this is the final thing. This is the packaging up. We need that level, that unquestionable, the truth that we all agree upon. We need that level of understanding of learning if we are able to have the freedom to play with it, which we don't currently have. We are playing with learning despite not knowing, without knowing what it actually is, the truth of it. That's why we're getting nowhere. Yes. So first, restrict our imaginations, restrict our trajectories to the point where there is zero question as to what it is. And then from there, go out and play with it. And the key component that will allow us to know that there's zero question as to what it is we all agree. That's the beauty of it. We all agree this is what learning is. And the people that don't are those minorities, are those exceptions. And they eventually disappear because they're so few and they can't survive on their own. And we aren't there with learning yet. So if your goal is to get there, let's work together to do it.